The Bills are speaking with the media today, and it comes after great news arriving in regards to safety Damar Hamlin. UC Health doctors say he's made, quote, substantial improvement over the past 24 hours after going into cardiac arrest Monday night against the Bengals. Here's Bills head coach Sean McDermott alongside quarterback Josh Allen.
We continue to pray for them during this time, and Damar is and remains our number one concern. I'd like to thank a number of people. We'd like to thank a number of people before we get into your questions, as there have been so many people involved in Damar's situation, and if we leave somebody out, we apologize. First, I'd like to thank the first responders on the field this past Monday evening, and the medical teams of the Bills, the Bengals, and the staff, doctors and nurses at the University of Cincinnati Medical Center for their work and their care. Terry Pagula, the Buffalo Bills staff, coaches, and players, as well as their families who have all been affected and impacted by this situation. The amount of faith, hope, and love that we saw on display over the last 3 days has been nothing short of amazing. I'd also like to thank the entire Bengals organization, their ownership, and specifically Zach Taylor, his staff, and their players, and going above and beyond and handling the situation the way that they did. The officiating crew that was on the field, led by Sean Smith, and the way that they handled that situation with extreme poise and compassion certainly helped in the minutes that that situation unfolded on the field, in the minutes after as well. Both Roger Goodell and Troy Vincent and their leadership from the league office, as well as the NFL Players Association and Don Davis. Fans of both the Bills and the Bengals, along with the many other fans and organizations that we've heard from over the last 3 days. And then I'd also like to thank you, the media, for your respect and privacy and compassion, again, over the last 3 days as we've dealt with this situation and going forward as well. Finally, and just as important as anything, is glory to God for his keeping Damar and his family in the palm of his hand over the last couple of days, and his healing powers. With that, I'll turn it over to you.
Sean, listening to the doctors today that we were able to talk to on that Zoom call, updating the progress he's made, particularly over the last 24 hours. How encouraging is that? And Josh, you can jump in here too. What's your reaction as you hear that?
Yeah, very encouraging. We've been getting incremental updates. And Brandon and Nate, Brandon being and Nate Bresky, Nate being our head trainer, as well as Tabani. Richard stayed behind in Cincinnati at the hospital. They've been there the whole time, and so my hat goes off to them as well. But they've been giving us updates, or Damar's doctors have been giving our doctors updates. Dr. Bisson here in town. And then the updates have flowed basically through either Brandon and Nate or Dr. Bisson, or directly from Damar's doctors. And the news has been very encouraging as we all are up to date at this point, and just extremely grateful.
Josh, what can you say about the leadership of your head coach when this happened, when Damar collapsed and ultimately deciding this game should not be played?
Yeah, the way he handled it was... He was a perfect man in that situation to handle that type of situation. I can't say enough about what he did, what he said to us in the locker room. Obviously just a dire circumstance that nobody's expecting, nobody's ready for. There's nothing that you can train about doing. Like, you can never put yourself in that situation until it happens. And I want to thank I know Coach mentioned it earlier, but our training staff for going out there, not knowing what's going on, but going through a checklist, working as a single cell symbiote, like saving his life, and being on that field you lose sleep, you hurt for your brother, a lot of shared grief, but to the question before, getting updates and positive updates eases so much of that pain and that tension that you feel. But Coach handled it as perfect as anybody could.
Josh, can you take us through, you personally, but even your teammates as well, the level of fear that you were facing when you were, because it was clear you guys knew what was going on. Can you just share maybe some of the level of fear you guys had?
Yeah, I don't typically like using emotion to answer questions, but yeah, like the scene just replays over and over in your head, and there's, again, it's hard to answer that question and actually describe how, I felt, how my teammates felt in that moment. It's something we'll never forget, but to know that Damar is doing okay, and I know there's still a lot of things and stuff that he has to process and continue to go through to get back to himself. We're just, again, we heard that news this morning, and there's nothing that could have been told to us to bring our day down. We're extremely happy for him and his family. We just want to love up on him. So the next chance we get, I don't know when it's going to be. If we get to see him anytime soon, man, it's going to be awesome.
Sean, can you give your version of the conversation you had with Zach Taylor, where he said, he quoted you as saying, you had to be with your guy at the hospital. If you could just, pick it up from.
Yeah. I caught a little bit of that, and just very appreciative of Zach, and I'll start there. I mean, Zach, the NFL is such a competitive league, and games are so competitive. You spend all week, right, preparing to beat each other, and as fast, and Josh can attest to this, as that was unfolding in those situations, it's, as Josh alluded to, you prepare for things to go wrong in the game as you visualize the game unfolding, just so you're ready, but they're not of that nature, right? They're on the field, they're schematic challenges and whatnot, and so as competitive as this league is, Zach quickly recognized the situation, and when you can engage with the opposing coach, and he and you and Zach and I were on the same page so quickly there. It was amazing that how compassionate Zach was, and his players. I'm jumping ahead here, Vic, but their captains came down to our locker room and met with our team and captains, and just an amazing show of compassion, empathy, love, and it's just so amazing because minutes before that, we were going at each other, and so my hat goes off to Zach and the Bengals, as I've said before. But so it unfolded so quickly, and things have happened so quickly since that point in time, with balancing everything that we're balancing. I really haven't thought back clearly about the steps in order, but I do. When Zach said that, I do recall it. I'd forgotten that, but it brought it back to my mind that after Damar got loaded into the ambulance, I remember thinking to myself, we're going to need some time, we being the Bills at least, and we're so conditioned to a player is taken off the field who is injured, to going right back into that mode, and so I said to Sean Smith, I said, hey, we're going to need some time here, and again he was tremendous, and then I remember going back to our sideline, had a conversation with Leslie Frazier, and I can't even remember what Leslie said, but he was a help as well, and then I went back to Sean and said, I don't feel good about this, and or something to that effect. And then he came back. He was going to go talk to Zach. Zach comes over. I think Zach has recounted since that point in time, and And then the league was involved, and so we went back to and the league helped in this way as well, saying, hey, it's okay to go back into your locker rooms. And so we headed that direction. And then the way things unfolded from there was really we were in the front of our locker room, not quite out in the hallway at that point, but having conversations amongst ourselves. I think I went in and addressed the team and just felt like overall it was going to be really hard to put them back out there, but I wanted to give them the option to go back out there if they wanted to. And led by Josh and a couple of the other captains, they decided not to go back out there. And so going then from our locker room out our doors to the hallway where Sean and the rest of the officiating crew, as well as Don Aponte from the league, they were there, making sure that they were there for us. And then Zach also walked down outside of our locker room. And I'm not sure what was covered on television or not. So, and then again, the follow-up conversation that needed to happen ensued right there outside of our locker room.
Sean, how do you go, and Troy Vincent talked eloquently yesterday about how you were battling and this team was battling and how the focus was on really just mental health and getting through this. How difficult was that part? How uplifting was the news this morning? And with Mario Hamlin speaking to the team. Yeah. And how do you just turn your attention now moving forward to try to play a game?
Yeah, fair question. It's, mental health is real, and, I think as a coach and as leaders of organizations, number one, Terry Pagula does a great job of leading in that regard for us. But the job description of a coach is not just coaching X's and O's. And it's much more than that. And so, the health, to me, the health and well-being of your staff and your players is the number one job of a coach in this situation. And so that includes mental health.
Sean and Josh, can you follow up on that? Was there, the media has spoken about you admiringly about your approach to mental health this week. Can you talk about whether there was any formal, I guess I'm thinking like the equivalent of grief counseling or anything formal for the team or resources that were made available to them this week?
Yes, we provided, we have already in-house staff that is their main responsibility to not only the players but also the staff. And then in this case, we were able to add additional counselors when we arrived back here on Tuesday morning. We weren't supposed to have a mandatory meeting or any function that day as a quote-unquote player's day off, mandatory, but we scheduled a 12 o'clock team meeting and had additional counselors on hand to help in that regard, generally to the overall team, but then in breakout sessions from there, if need be.
Coach, what have you seen from your team, or what would you need to hear that will make you comfortable with playing the game at 1 p.m. and Josh, after he's done, you could follow up, just the idea of moving forward and playing for Damar?
Yeah, when Damar's father spoke to us, again, the days have blended together here. So today is Thursday. So yesterday, Damar's father spoke to the team, and really his message was the team needs to get back to focusing on the goals that they had set for themselves. Damar would have wanted it that way, and I'm paraphrasing. And so that includes our game against New England this week. And I think that has helped. And then again today, the news today, as Josh alluded to, was a huge help to getting us back to focused on the game this weekend.
Yeah, and I'd say from a player's view, hearing Mario talk to us, the words of encouragement that he had for us. And I had the chance actually to talk to him Monday night, and the only thing he said was, "My son's going to be all right."
Coach, how no other coach has experienced what you was a part of on Monday night. How was it for you to keep your players level with their emotions while you dealt with your emotions at that moment?
Yeah, I mean, what I did, and listen, this is not about me. This is about Damar and his family, and that's why I started the way I did. I really feel like I did what anybody else would have done, and so when you're in those situations, you just react. And when you prepare for a game, the game can slow down because you've prepared for the game and you visualized it ahead of time. In this case, I can tell you it was moving very slowly at the beginning, just as Damar was on the field. Time was just creeping by as we were trying to get a response to how he was doing, and then from that point on, it moved very, very quickly in terms of us trying to get to a decision and do the right thing. And I think that's what it really comes down to, is just trying to do the right thing for everyone involved.
Josh, what do you expect Sunday to be like for you and for this entire team?
Little difficult to answer that question. I think for every person, it's going to be a little different. I think putting that helmet back on today was a really good thing for our team, and just to kind of go through that process. But I'd be lying to you if I didn't say, some people are going to be changed forever, after being on the field and witnessing that and feeling those emotions. But again, the best way that we can continue to move forward, obviously the updates that we keep getting on Damar really lift our spirits, leaning on each other, talking to each other. We've had some very open and honest and deep talks, some unbelievable, it sounds weird, but embraces as men, just hugging somebody and actually leaning into them. There's been a lot of that going around, and you need every bit of it. You really do. And again, I think the fact that we just keep hearing good news about Damar, it just keeps pushing us forward.
You mentioned how Mario's words have helped you move forward. Obviously, the word of him being awake and seems like he's going to be okay obviously gets you much closer to calm. Why do you have to place on him?
I'll say I'm not on the field playing, and I think there is a little bit of a different dimension when you're actually out there playing, in particular because of what Josh was referring to. I feel strongly that as his dad, as Mario mentioned to us, that this is what Damar would have wanted and wants, and we owe that. This is my opinion and my take on it. We owe that to Damar, and we owe that to his family.
Do you think this is what the NFL should want?
I'm not going to comment on that.
Josh, to hear Damar's remarks when he first was awake, if you win the game, how much would that drive you and the rest of the team going forward?
Yeah. His dad said the first thing that he's going to ask when he wakes up is who won the game. And sure enough, that's what he did, man. And as teammates, you love hearing that response, that the first thing on his mind wasn't, poor me. It was, how are my teammates doing? Did we win this game? And that's powerful in itself, man. And I don't think people really understand the bond and the relationship and the brotherhood that you have as an NFL team, especially this one here. Guys love each other, and we really do. And for, obviously Damar to go through that and to come out on the other side and still, again, just thinking about his teammates, that's Damar. That's who he is, though.
Sean, through all the adversity this team and community has come.
Yeah.
Just, do you wonder if it's the cruel thing, and you overcome them?
Yeah.
How do you now overcome this one? And you wonder if the cruel fates are just, playing games with you, and how do you overcome this one?
Well, I'm a Christian man to begin with, and I'm not afraid to say that. And I know that when you're trying to do good things or great things, that sometimes you come across opposition. I'll leave that part of it there. And how do I know that we'll be able to overcome? Is we have to, just like we've done many times before in this city, and the people of Western New York that have dealt with what they've dealt with. That's what you do. And I've never been around a city or a region like this that is so in sync, their teams and the fan base. And I mean that. And I know this is Josh's only team since he's been in the NFL, but I'm sure he would echo the same thing. And this is what Western New York and the fans of the Buffalo Bills, this is what we do.
Josh, you can only speak for yourself. You obviously are a leader on this team, but the images of you and a lot of your teammates after that happened, I mean, you're powerful. How do you personally feel impacted by what you saw moving forward in football?
Yeah, just a lot of things going through the mind, obviously on the field, and didn't grasp, I guess, the reality of it until you start hearing things from the medical team. And again, the weight that has been lifted on myself and everybody else's shoulders, obviously after hearing the updates. But it was tough. It is tough to know that this is a game that we play, and we're able to, put all of our emotions and off the field stuff away.
At least that was a happy song.
Yeah, exactly.
Sorry, guys. Hey, Sean, while everyone's laughing at me, we've come to learn that Denny Killington was the person who delivered the CPR. Can you maybe share a thought about his performance, basically?
Again, amazing. To give it context to some extent, Denny is one of our assistant trainers. Nate Bresky is our head trainer. And so just like anything else, that whole team, our medical team, they go through their exercise, mock exercises for things like this. But we are never around to see that when they do that. And as they say, practice pays off, and it did in this case. But again, the context of it, for an assistant to find himself at that position and needing to take the action that he did and step up and take charge like he did, and there were others on the field as well, is nothing short of amazing. And the courage that took, that is, you talk about a real leader, a real hero, in saving Damar's life, and just admire his strength.
All right, we're going to get out of the Bills press conference where Sean McDermott and Josh Allen had spoken for more than 20 minutes. CBS on Sunday, 1 Eastern and 4:25. Also Paramount Plus, where New England will be at Buffalo at 1 p.m. The guys were asked why they would play this weekend. Sean McDermott said because Damar Hamlin would have wanted them to. McDermott also gave a timeline of the events that happened on Monday night. Josh Allen also talking about being out for walkthroughs and practice for the first time since that game. One more update in case you have not yet heard on Damar Hamlin. Health doctors at UC, they're saying he's made substantial improvement over the past 24 hours. He does remain in the ICU, but he's been able to communicate by writing. And they do add officials there that Hamlin appears to have his neurological condition and function intact.
Do you want a sports network that delivers everything that matters about the game? The highlights, the picks, the instant analysis, no yelling, no fake debates, no politics. Hit the subscribe button and never miss a moment.